Hello, my name is Chad Dolnig, and my presentation is about why I believe student athletes should be getting paid. This is a topic that seems to be brought up every day in the sports world. The reasons I believe student athletes should be paid, which I will go into more detail about later on, are first and foremost the amount of money the NCAA makes from each student athlete in comparison to each student athlete. Next, not every athlete is on scholarship, so it's hard for them to get around financially wise. And lastly, student athletes do not have the time to get a job to get more money to spend on everyday needs such as food and housing if they do not get room and board paid for in their scholarship. Now, first, I believe student athletes should get paid because the NCAA brings in over $1.1 billion each year when it's all said and done. Just from the NCAA men's basketball tournament alone, before payouts are made to the schools that are competing in the 64 team playoff, they make over $1.1 billion. And now I will show you a graph that compares the NCAA basketball postseason to other professional sports postseasons. This chart shows you how much that the NCAA basketball tournament brings in comparison to other professional sports postseasons. They make more than the NFL, the NBA, they don't make almost double the amount of the MLB, and they make more than 9 times as much money off the NCAA March Madness tournament as the NHL does. Now, as if that money made from the NCAA basketball tournament isn't enough, the NCAA also makes $470 million alone just on the college football playoff, which does not include the non playoff bowl games. The NCAA has 460,000 student athletes, both male and females. So per athlete, the NCAA is making about $2,500 off of each athlete, and as you know, those athletes are not receiving any of that pay whatsoever. The next point I'll get into is everyone thinks that each and every student athlete is on a scholarship. Well, that couldn't be more false. The NCAA actually reports that 56% of student athletes are on some type of athletic scholarship, which leaves 46% not receiving a single dime of tuition, room, or board. And not to mention, scholarships are signed on a year to year basis. So if you don't perform up to standards, you can lose your scholarship. Or if you have a career ending injury or a season ending injury, your coach doesn't have to renew your scholarship either. And it could be pulled away, and that leaves student athletes kind of hung out to dry, not knowing what to do or how to pay for their school that they could have been at, that maybe they couldn't afford without their scholarship. And also, football gets 63 scholarships to divide amongst 85 people, while guys basketball gets 13 scholarships to divide amongst however many people are on their roster, which is about 13 to 15 or about 15 to 18 players. And women's basketball gets 15 scholarships to divide amongst their team. And then that leads you to baseball, who only gets 11.7 scholarships to divide amongst a 35-man roster. And softball, on the other hand, gets 12 scholarships to divide amongst their roster, which is about 20 to 21 players. Finally, now I know some of y'all are saying, well, why don't student athletes get a job? Well, the reason why they don't get a job is because they can't. Their schedules are too busy, and they're also very unpredictable. You never know when your coach could be calling you up to be at a random practice or to go lift, or plans always change on the fly with student athletes. An average student athlete schedule leaves them about 2 to 3 hours of free time, and with that free time, they have it to either study for tests, do homework, hang out with friends, or have a good dinner, or whatever the case may be. Now I've decided to play an interview for y'all. It's a reporter asking Richard Sherman, who went to Stanford and played football there, and now plays for the Seattle Seahawks. And the reporter asked him what the life is of a student athlete and kind of how unfairly they're treated to some extent, and why athletes want to get paid, and that's what I'm going to play for y'all right now.
Great question. I really appreciate that question. No, I don't think college athletes are given enough time to really take advantage of the free education that they're given, and it's frustrating because a lot of people say, get upset with student athletes and say that they're not focused on school and they're not taking advantage of the opportunity they're given. I would love for a regular student to have a student athlete schedule during the season for just 1 quarter or 1 semester, and show me how you balance that. Show me how you have classes from 2 to 6 o'clock on any given day. Show me how you're gonna get all your work done when after you get out at 7:30 or so. You got to test the next day. You're dead tired from practice, and you still have to study just work. Done with class by 3. And you're sitting here. You may excuse me, a few hours studying. Then you may spend a few hours at the library checking out books and just doing casual reading. Then you may go hang out with friends and have a coffee. And when you're a student athlete, you don't have that kind of time. You wake up in the morning, you have weights at this time. Then after weights, you go to class. And after class, you go maybe try to grab you a quick bite to eat. Then after you get your quick bite to eat, you go straight to meetings. And after meetings, you got practice. And after practice, you got to try to get all the work done you had throughout the day. You got from your lectures and from your focus groups. And those aren't the things that people focus on when talking about student athletes. They're upset when a student athlete says they need a little cash. Well, I can tell you from experience, I had negative $40 in my account. Usually my account was in a negative more times than it was in a positive. You got to make decisions on whether you get gas for your car or whether you get the meal for the day. You got one of the two choices. And people think, oh, they pay for your education. To their knowledge, you're there to play football. You're not on scholarship for school. And it sounds crazy when a student athlete says that, but those are the things coaches tell them every day. You're not on scholarship for school. And luckily I was blessed to go to Stanford and a school that was primarily focused on academics. So it was a blessing. It was a little bit better. As Jim Harbaugh would attest, we were also there for football. But there were still guys like Andrew who incredibly tough role to take when you're football, because a lot of the classes conflict with your time as a football player. You have an engineering class from 2 to 3:30. There's no way you can do both. You can't go to meetings and take your engineering class from 2 to 3:30. So what do you do? What do you do? Do you switch your major, or do you tell your coach, hey, I got an engineering class from 2 to 3:30 and I have to go to that? That's a conflict of interest. That's what people don't realize. But it's not something that.
Now, in conclusion, I believe all student athletes should be paid, or at least about $1,000 per semester, considering they make all the money that they do off of us. And because, student athletes don't have the time to get a job, and right now the NCAA makes about $1.2 billion off of each student athlete, or not off each student athlete, but off of all student athletes. And I don't think it's fair to keep them from making some of the money that they earned the NCAA. And that's my presentation. I hope y'all enjoyed it.